You tell yourself it's fine, just a miscommunication. But it keeps happening. In meetings, at parties, with family, you start to notice a pattern. The more you think, the less you connect. The deeper you go, the more alone you become. Your intelligence, the thing that should be your greatest gift, starts to feel like a wall between you and everyone else. You learn to hold back, to wait 3 seconds before answering questions so you don't seem too quick, to ask for explanations you don't need, to laugh at jokes you saw coming. You become an actor in your own life, performing the role of someone less intelligent than you are, just to fit in, just to belong somewhere. Arthur Schopenhauer saw this coming 200 years ago. This German philosopher, brilliant and bitter, spent most of his life alone, not because he wanted to, but because he discovered a terrible truth. The smarter you become, the lonelier you get. It's not a bug in the system, it's a feature, a mathematical certainty, a price that must be paid. He warned us that intelligence doesn't bring connection, it brings isolation, and the higher your intelligence climbs, the fewer people can climb with you. You become like a mountain climber who's gone too high. The air is thin, the company is gone, and there's no way back down to where everyone else is breathing easily. Today, we're going to explore why this happens, why your gift feels like a curse, why depth repels instead of attracts, and most importantly, what Schopenhauer discovered about surviving this unique form of loneliness. Because if you've ever felt like your mind is both your superpower and your prison, you need to hear this. What you're about to learn might not make you feel better, but it will make you feel understood. And sometimes that's enough. Let me tell you how it starts. You're young, maybe in school, and you notice you understand things faster than others. Teachers love you. Tests are easy. You help classmates with homework. Your intelligence feels like a bridge, not a barrier. You're the helper, the explainer, the one who gets it. It feels good. It feels like belonging. But then something shifts. Maybe it's high school, maybe college, maybe your first job. Suddenly, your quick understanding isn't appreciated. It's threatening. Your questions make others uncomfortable. Your observations reveal things people don't want seen. Without meaning to, you become the person who ruins comfortable illusions just by being in the room. You make a comment in a meeting that cuts straight to the heart of a problem everyone's been dancing around for months. Instead of gratitude, you get silence, cold stares. Later, someone pulls you aside and says you need to be more diplomatic. What they mean is, stop seeing so clearly. Stop speaking so truthfully. Stop making everyone else feel slow. Schopenhauer experienced this firsthand. As a young philosopher, he attended lectures, joined discussions, tried to connect with other thinkers, but he kept seeing flaws in their logic, gaps in their reasoning, comfortable lies they told themselves. When he pointed these out, thinking he was contributing, he was met with hostility, not because he was wrong, but because he was right in ways that threatened their entire worldview. He wrote about attending a gathering where everyone was discussing Hegel's philosophy, which was fashionable at the time. Schopenhauer saw through the elaborate words to the empty ideas beneath. When he expressed this, the room turned on him, not with arguments but with exclusion. He wasn't invited back. The crime wasn't being wrong, it was seeing too clearly and saying it out loud. This is the invisible wall intelligence creates. It's not that you're trying to be superior, you're just seeing what you see. But what you see makes others feel exposed, inadequate, threatened. They don't hate you. They hate how you make them feel about themselves. Your very existence becomes a mirror reflecting back their limitations. Think about your own life. How many times have you had to pretend you don't know something? How many times have you asked questions you already knew the answers to, just to make others feel useful? How many times have you bitten your tongue when someone explained something incorrectly, because correcting them would create tension? This self-censorship becomes exhausting. You're not just thinking your thoughts, you're constantly filtering them, translating them, diluting them. Every conversation requires you to be less than you are. And the effort of constantly shrinking yourself down to fit into spaces too small for your mind creates a unique kind of fatigue. You develop what I call intelligence management fatigue. Every social interaction requires you to operate on multiple levels simultaneously. Level 1, what you're actually thinking. Level 2, what you can safely say. Level 3, how to say it without seeming condescending. Level 4, managing others' emotional reactions to your intelligence. It's exhausting, and it never ends. Schopenhauer called this the burden of consciousness. The more aware you become, the more you must hide that awareness. Because full awareness, expressed honestly, is too much for most people to handle. They want comfort, not truth. They want validation, not insight. They want to feel smart, not be challenged. Here's something nobody talks about. Intelligent people don't just think faster. They see patterns others miss entirely. And this pattern recognition becomes its own special hell. Because once you start seeing the patterns, you can't stop. You see how conversations will end before they begin. You predict relationship failures on the first date. You watch people make the same mistakes over and over, unable to learn from patterns they can't perceive. Schopenhauer wrote extensively about this. He could see the patterns in human behavior, the predictable cycles of desire and disappointment, the mechanical nature of most human decisions. While others lived in suspense about how things would turn out, he already knew. Not because he was psychic, but because patterns repeat, and intelligent minds can't help but notice. Imagine watching a movie where you can predict every plot twist, every character decision, every line of dialogue. That's what life becomes for the highly intelligent. The spontaneity is gone. The surprise is dead. You're watching reruns while everyone else thinks it's the premiere. A friend comes to you excited about a new relationship. They describe their partner, and within minutes you can see exactly how it will end. You recognize the narcissistic patterns, the love-bombing phase, the inevitable devaluation that will come. You see it as clearly as if you're reading a script. But what can you say? They won't believe you. They'll think you're jealous, negative, trying to ruin their happiness. So you smile, nod, and wait for the inevitable call 6 months later when it all falls apart, exactly as you predicted. This extends to every area of life. In relationships, you see the red flags others miss. You notice the small inconsistencies that reveal big problems. You recognize toxic patterns before they fully manifest. But when you try to warn people, they think you're being negative, pessimistic, judgmental. They can't see what you see, so they assume you're making it up. At work, you see inefficiencies everywhere, systems that could be improved, processes that waste time, decisions based on ego rather than logic. You see solutions clearly, but implementing them requires explaining them to people who don't see the problems. It's like trying to describe color to someone who's never had sight. Carl Jung, another genius who understood this isolation, wrote about the curse of consciousness. He said that the more conscious you become, the more responsible you feel for what you see, but the less able you are to share it. Because consciousness isn't transferable. You can't make someone see what they're not ready to see. This creates a terrible loneliness. You're surrounded by people making preventable mistakes, heading toward predictable disasters, trapped in patterns they can't perceive. You want to help, but help requires understanding, and understanding requires a level of intelligence they don't possess. So you watch, knowing what's coming, unable to prevent it. The pattern recognition curse means you're always living in the future while others live in the present. You see consequences before they manifest, understand implications others miss, recognize where paths lead before anyone else has taken the first step. You become a time traveler, isolated not by space, but by temporal perception. You sit in meetings watching people argue about solutions that won't work, knowing exactly why they'll fail, but unable to explain it in a way they'll understand. You watch political movements, social trends, economic bubbles, seeing clearly where they're headed, but your warnings sound like madness to those who can't see the patterns. Now let's talk about something that might be destroying you slowly: the inability to exist at surface level. Most human interaction happens in the shallows. Small talk about weather, gossip about celebrities, Complaints about traffic. For most people, this is comfortable, even enjoyable. For the highly intelligent, it's torture. Schopenhauer compared it to being a deep-sea creature forced to live in a puddle. You're built for depths others can't reach, but you're forced to splash around in the shallows pretending it's enough. Every superficial conversation feels like another minute without oxygen. Every meaningless social ritual feels like a betrayal of your authentic self. You go to a party. People are talking about a reality TV show, analyzing the drama between contestants. They're genuinely invested, emotionally engaged, having what they consider a great time. Meanwhile, you're standing there wondering about the sociological implications of reality TV, the way it reflects and shapes cultural values, how it represents the commodification of human relationships. But if you voice these thoughts, you're the weirdo who overthinks everything. You crave conversations about meaning, purpose, existence, ideas. You want to discuss why things are the way they are, not just accept that they are. You want to explore possibilities, challenge assumptions, dive deep into complexity, but bring this energy to a normal social situation and watch how quickly people find excuses to leave. Why does everything have to be so deep with you? They ask. Can't you just relax and have fun? But what they call relaxing feels like suffocation to you. What they call fun feels like a performance. You can pretend to enjoy it, but pretending is exhausting. And the more you pretend, the more alone you feel. This creates a horrible choice. Be yourself and be rejected, or fake being someone else and be accepted. Most intelligent people choose the second option, at least initially. They learn to perform normalcy. They develop a social mask, a simplified version of themselves that others can tolerate. But maintaining this mask requires constant energy. You learn to laugh at things that aren't funny, to feign interest in topics that bore you, to have opinions about things that don't matter. You become a method actor in your own life, and the performance never ends. Even worse, sometimes you perform so well that people think they know you, but they only know your mask, not your face. Schopenhauer chose differently. He refused to pretend. He structured his entire life around his need for depth. He woke at dawn to write when his mind was clearest. He read philosophy, not newspapers. He took long walks alone, thinking deeply rather than making small talk with neighbors. Others called him antisocial, but he was simply being honest about what he needed. The depth dilemma means you're always translating yourself down. Every thought must be simplified. Every observation must be softened. Every insight must be diluted. You become a professional translator, constantly converting your natural language into something others can digest. But in translation, everything important is lost. You want to talk about how consciousness might be an emergent property of complex systems. They want to talk about what happened on their favorite show last night. You want to explore the implications of quantum mechanics on free will. They want to complain about their boss. You want to discuss whether objective morality exists. They want to show you funny videos on their phone. If you're feeling that familiar ache of recognition right now, that sense of finally being understood, then you're exactly who needs to hear this. Subscribe to this channel because we're building something rare here. A space where depth is welcomed, where complex thoughts don't need translation, where your intelligence is an asset, not a liability. We're creating a community for minds that refuse to live in the shallows. Here's the cruelest irony of all. The more intelligent you are, the more you understand people. You see their fears, their insecurities, their defense mechanisms. You understand why they do what they do, why they hurt others, why they hurt themselves. You develop deep compassion for human struggle. But understanding isn't the same as connecting. Schopenhauer called this the observer's curse. You understand the human condition perfectly, but from outside it. Like a scientist studying mice, you comprehend their behavior completely while remaining fundamentally separate from it. Your understanding actually increases your distance because it reveals how different your inner experience is from theirs. You see people trapped in cycles they don't recognize, making decisions based on traumas they haven't processed, living out scripts written by their childhoods, Your intelligence allows you to map their psychology with startling accuracy. But this mapping doesn't create intimacy. It prevents it, because real intimacy requires equality, and there's no equality when one person sees so much more than the other. A friend tells you about their problems, and within minutes, you understand the real issue. Not what they're saying, but what they're not saying. You see the childhood wound they're protecting, the fear they're avoiding, the pattern they're repeating. You could help them, really help them, if they could hear what you see. But they can't. They're not ready. Maybe they'll never be ready. This creates a strange dynamic in relationships. People often feel understood by you, even helped by you. You become the person they come to for advice, for clarity, for perspective. But the connection only flows one way. They feel seen by you, but they can't see you. Not really. Not at the depth where you actually exist. You become everyone's therapist, counselor, guide. But who guides you? Who counsels you? Who sees you with the same clarity you see others? The answer, often, is no one. Because the same intelligence that allows you to understand others makes you incomprehensible to them. Your problems are too complex for most people to grasp. Your thoughts move too quickly for them to follow. Your concerns exist at levels of abstraction they can't reach. So, you learn to keep your real struggles to yourself. When people ask how you are, you give them simplified versions of your reality, pre-digested portions they can handle. Schopenhauer lived this reality daily. He understood human nature so well, he could predict behavior with uncanny accuracy. But this understanding brought no warmth, no connection, no belonging. He was like someone who understood the rules of a game perfectly, but couldn't feel the joy of playing it. The compassion trap means you're always giving understanding you'll never receive. Always offering depth that won't be reciprocated. Always extending empathy that can't be returned at the same level. You become emotionally overdrawn, constantly spending what isn't being replenished. You listen to friends complain about problems you solved internally years ago. You watch them struggle with questions you've already answered. You see them celebrating insights that seem elementary to you. And you have to pretend to be impressed, to be surprised, to be learning alongside them. Because if you don't, you're arrogant. If you don't, you're condescending. If you don't, you're alone. So what's the solution? How do you survive this isolation? Schopenhauer's answer was radical for his time and remains controversial today. Stop trying to connect through people. Find your connection elsewhere. He found his solace in art, music, philosophy, nature. These became his true companions. A symphony by Beethoven understood him better than any person could. A sunset spoke to him more honestly than human conversation. Books became his real relationships, ideas, his true intimacy. This wasn't escapism, it was realism. Schopenhauer recognized that expecting deep connection from those incapable of depth was like expecting a fish to climb a tree. Instead of raging against this impossibility, he accepted it and found alternatives. He structured his entire life around this acceptance. His daily routine was sacred. Morning writing when his mind was sharpest, afternoon reading of philosophy and literature, evening walks with his poodles, who he noted never disappointed him with shallow conversation. He attended concerts alone, visited museums alone, thought alone. And in this aloneness, he found something unexpected. Freedom. Freedom from translation. Freedom from performance. Freedom from the exhausting effort of dumbing himself down. In solitude, his mind could run at full speed. His thoughts could reach their natural conclusions. His intelligence could stretch to its full capacity without apology. But here's what's crucial. This wasn't bitter withdrawal. It was strategic reallocation. Instead of spending energy trying to connect where connection was impossible, he invested it where it could bear fruit. His writings, his philosophy, his deep engagement with ideas, these became his legacy. He connected with future generations of thinkers, even if he couldn't connect with his contemporaries. His books became conversations with minds that could understand him, even if those minds wouldn't exist until decades after his death. His ideas became bridges to people he'd never meet, but who would understand him better than anyone in his daily life ever could. He found connection across time rather than space. This is the path he offers you. Stop exhausting yourself trying to fit into spaces too small for your mind. Stop apologizing for your depth. Stop seeking understanding from those who can't provide it. Instead, build a life that honors your intelligence rather than suppresses it. Create routines that protect your depth. Wake early when the world is quiet and your mind can expand without interruption. Read books that challenge rather than comfort. Engage with art that operates at your level of complexity. Seek beauty that matches your depth. Find the few rare souls who can meet you at your depth, but don't expect them to be numerous. Quality over quantity becomes not just a preference, but a survival strategy. One real conversation per year is worth more than 365 days of small talk. One person who truly sees you is worth more than 1,000 who see your mask. If Schopenhauer felt isolated in the 1800s, imagine how he'd feel today. We live in an age that actively punishes depth. Social media rewards quick, shallow engagement. Attention spans shrink yearly. Nuance is murdered by algorithms that promote extremes. The intelligent person today faces challenges Schopenhauer couldn't have imagined. You're expected to compress complex thoughts into tweets, to reduce nuanced positions to binary choices, to engage with a world that increasingly operates at the intellectual level of a child. The dumbing down that used to be occasional is now constant. The performance of simplicity that used to be situational is now permanent. Dating apps reduce people to photos and bullet points. Professional networks demand you market yourself in sound bites. Even education increasingly caters to the lowest common denominator. Universities that once challenged minds now coddle them. Workplaces that once valued intelligence now fear it as disruptive. You try to have a nuanced discussion online, and you're immediately forced into a camp. Either you're completely for something or completely against it. There's no room for complexity, for seeing multiple sides, for understanding that most important truths exist in paradox. The internet has become a machine for destroying nuance, and nuance is where intelligence lives. The highly intelligent today face a horrible paradox. There's more information than ever, but less wisdom. More communication, but less understanding. More connection, but less intimacy. You can reach millions of people instantly, but say nothing of substance to any of them. This creates a new form of loneliness, hyper-connected isolation. You're constantly engaged but never nourished, always communicating but never heard, forever surrounded but fundamentally alone. It's loneliness amplified by the illusion of connection, made worse by the pretense of communication. And here's the kicker. Artificial intelligence is making it worse. As AI becomes more sophisticated, human intelligence becomes less valued. Why think deeply when AI can think for you? Why develop intelligence when machines do it better? The very faculty that already isolated you is becoming obsolete. You're not just alone, you're becoming irrelevant. But there's another side to this. The same technology that's dumbing down the masses is also connecting the intelligent minorities. Online, you can find others who operate at your level. You can access the greatest minds in history through their writings. You can engage with ideas without geographic limitations. The internet, used correctly, can be your gateway to the kind of connection Schopenhauer could only dream of. So here's where we stand. If you've recognized yourself in these words, if you've felt that familiar pain of being too much and not enough simultaneously, you face a choice. The same choice Schopenhauer faced, the same choice every intelligent person must eventually confront. You can keep fighting reality, keep trying to connect where connection is impossible, keep shrinking yourself to fit into spaces too small for your mind. You can continue the exhausting performance of being less than you are. You can maintain the mask until you forget there's a face beneath it. Or you can accept Schopenhauer's radical solution. You can stop apologizing for your intelligence Stop seeking validation from those who can't understand you. Stop wasting energy on connections that can never go deep enough to nourish you. You can build a life that honors your depth rather than punishes it. This doesn't mean becoming a hermit. It means being strategic about where you invest your social energy. It means quality over quantity in relationships. It means finding your tribe, even if that tribe is mostly dead philosophers and artists. It means accepting that you'll have fewer connections, but they'll be more real. It means structuring your life around your intelligence rather than despite it. Creating work that uses your full capacity. Building relationships that can handle your depth. Designing days that honor your need for complexity. It means stopping the constant apology for being who you are. Here's what I want you to do right now. In the comments below, share one way your intelligence has isolated you. One moment when you felt the wall between you and others. Not to complain, but to acknowledge. Because the first step to freedom is admitting the prison exists. And more importantly, you'll see from others' comments that you're not alone in this. We're all alone together, which is its own form of connection. And if this video has resonated with you, if you've finally felt seen and understood, then subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Because this channel is for minds like yours. We're building a community for those who choose truth over comfort, depth over surface, authenticity over belonging. We may be scattered across the globe, but in spaces like this, we find each other. Remember, your intelligence isn't your curse, it's your compass. It points you away from the crowd, yes, but towards something more valuable. Toward truth, toward authenticity, toward a life that actually fits your mind instead of crushing it. Schopenhauer died alone, but not lonely. He died complete. He never betrayed his intelligence for fake connection. He never shrunk himself for others' comfort. He lived at his full capacity, and that's all any of us can really do. Your loneliness isn't a failure. It's evidence that you're being true to yourself. Your isolation isn't weakness. It's integrity. Your inability to connect with most people isn't a defect. It's a sign that you're operating at a different level. The world needs people like you, even if it doesn't know it. It needs those who see clearly, think deeply, refuse to accept comfortable lies. Yes, it's a lonely path, but it's also the only path that leads anywhere worth going. The alternative, a lifetime of pretending to be less than you are, is a different kind of death, a slower, more painful one. In the end, you have to decide, would you rather be understood or be yourself? Would you rather belong or be authentic? Would you rather have many shallow connections or few deep ones? Would you rather live as a diluted version of yourself or die as the full concentration? Schopenhauer made his choice. He chose depth over width, quality over quantity, truth over comfort. And in that choice, he found something more valuable than connection. He found himself. He found the courage to exist at his full capacity, without apology, without dilution, without compromise. Now it's your turn to choose, and whatever you choose, choose consciously. Because the one thing worse than chosen isolation is unconscious conformity. The one thing worse than acknowledged loneliness is unrecognized self-betrayal. Your intelligence is not your burden to bear, it's your gift to honor. Even if honoring it means walking alone, especially if it means walking alone.